want to talk to you about crucial July beekeeping tips. And it seems like every month is really crucial in beekeeping. It seems like every time I make a video about a beekeeping tip, that month is crucial. And I'm not just saying that, it really is. There's always crucial things that need to be done in each month. But July, I thought I'd give some good beekeeping tips for the month of July. We're already 11 days into July. And what I want to share with tip number one is you should be at maximum population. Now, I realize some of you are probably saying, oh my gosh, I'm not there yet. My hive's still growing. It isn't there. It won't fill out all the frames in the second deep. It won't start a honey super. I know, I understand that. But normally what we'd like to see is we're at maximum population sometime in July, because usually about August with the heat and, the sun, the sun isn't up as long anymore. We've crossed the summer solstice, so the days get shorter toward the end of July. But anyway, we start feeling like, or is it June? Is it June or July? I think it might be summer solstice is June the 21st. But anyway, they do start getting shorter days. So we do need to think about that. Yeah, I think it's June. So, we'll have less bees as we get further into the hotter, less daylight season of late summer. So this is maximum population. I'm going to talk more what to do if you're not there yet, coming up in just a second. But just real quickly, you might need to move some frames around if you have more than one hive. You might need to combine a hive if you have more than one and one's really weak. Or you might need to requeen the one hive. It could be a queen issue, or you might still need to feed them to help them draw some comb out. But let's get into tip number two. And all of these tips tonight will help you if you're in a place where you're not at maximum population. Tip number two, what happens usually in July is that we start to see beekeepers harvesting honey. This is usually when I know I have more honey this year than I've ever had, I think, in all my years of beekeeping. It is amazing. I almost bought some more supers to put on my hive last week, but then I said, no, what am I going to do? So I'll just harvest, extract the honey, put those supers back on. It costs a lot of money nowadays to put supers on. Even if you just bought, 50 supers, and let's say they're $50, $70, man, that's a lot of money today, But anyway, let's talk about some tips about harvesting your honey in the month of July. Are you ready? Now, one time I had a friend at the time, many years ago, and I had a large extracting room. I had automated equipment, automated uncappers, automated radial frame, electric driven equipment and everything, pumps, pumping honey all over the place into holding tanks, double walled, insulated, warm honey tanks, so on. And there occasionally people would say, hey, can I come over and bring my supers and use your room to extract my honey supers? Well, a friend did that. And lo and behold, I was gone that day, but I said, no problem. He left he had honey supers in his truck, and he was bringing them in and out into my honey room, and he left the door open on the back of his truck. He had like a camper thing on the back. He let that open. He left the door open to the honey room the whole day. When I got home, his truck was brown because bees were all over it. And inside that honey room, nothing but honeybees. So listen, when you're harvesting honey, it's essential that you really think about, I'm going to be attracting bees when I'm harvesting honey. If I do it outdoors, if I leave a door open where bees are going to smell what I'm doing, like I'm extracting frames or something, honeybees are going to find that out, go back, give a waggle dance, and they're going to just show up in crazy numbers. So always be thinking, how can I protect this moment of me extracting, uncapping my honey and bottling it or whatever? That's got to be done in the privacy of your home, enclosed where no bees can gain access. Okay. That's a good tip for those of you that are new beekeepers and you've never done this before. One drop of honey is going to attract so many bees outdoors. So be careful. Now, don't remove too much honey. You got to leave some honey on board for the bees. That's something to think about too. don't get too greedy and get all excited about all that great honey that your bees made. You might want to wind up, if you live in a cold climate, leave them an extra honey super above your brood nest area. Now, you might feed them all winter like I do. Sometimes I feed my bees. I always feed my bees, but sometimes I'll leave them a honey super and I feed them. Another time, I don't leave them a honey super because they have a lot of honey in the brood nest, but I make sure I feed them all winter long. So if you're not going to feed them, you might consider leaving a honey super, a medium honey super on there. Now, listen, this brings us to the next point. You need to remove partially filled honey supers for the winter. That means if you have a honey super on top of your brood nest area and it only has about 3, 4, 5 frames that have nectar in it, but they're not capped over yet, that's not good to leave on your hive for winter, because the bees are going to desert their brood nest area, kind of go upward into the heat through the winter and into that honey super, but it won't have enough food to sustain them. So you might have to take those off, put them in a freezer, save them for next year, put them back on the hive in the spring. But try not to go in winter fooling your bees that there's food above them, and there really isn't. I never like to leave a honey super on unless it's got all 10 frames, or 8 frames, whatever your your configuration is. But unless they're all capped over and certainly stored honey for the bees, I don't like to go through winter with a partially filled super on. Now, this is a good time too about checking your queen after you harvest your honey. The reason I say that is because there's been a few times in my career as a beekeeper that I must have killed my queen during my extraction, during the removal of my honey frames. So sometimes, we're brushing bees off, we're using Bee Bandit, we're trying to use some kind of bee robber fluid to get bees to go down. We're moving a lot of boxes off the hive. And if you don't use a queen excluder like I do, you can accidentally smash your queen between those boxes or handling the frames if she happens to be walking around. So this is what I want you to do. Write this down. When you harvest your honey and you're done, wait about a week or so, and then go back and make sure you have eggs. Make sure your queen survived the harvest. Okay, good tip. Also, now July is a good month to be thinking about mite control. We're approaching July, August, September, when mites, the populations will explode in your hives. Now, also, not yet in July, but in the next month or two, we're going to see the drones be expelled from the colony. They don't like to overwinter with their drones. Drones are for mating with virgin queens in the spring. They don't need to overwinter with them. So they'll be killing off their drones. Listen, we've known for years that this is a crucial time where mites prefer to be on drones. It sounds like this is a new concept, but it's not. We've talked about that a decade or more ago, or maybe even longer. But I've always advocated this little warning that when the bees get rid of their drones, mites are drawn to the drones, the adults and the larvae or pupae stage right before they're capped over. But when all the mites are expelled, then the mites have no place to go except your worker bees, nurse bees primarily. And so it will really increase your alcohol wash counts in the months of when the drones are pushed out. And so it might look like that your numbers are skyrocketing, and they do in these months. But just remember, you may have the same number, but now instead of being on the drones that are out of the hive now, those mites are now just jumping over onto the bees. So this is the time for all of us in July to get ahead of the game, because the mites are going to reproduce, because remember what I said earlier, our bees are at their maximum population. That means mites are going to get there too. As generations of bees emerge, so do the mites emerge. And so all at once around July and August, there'll come a time in July and August when our hives have more mites being produced than bees, because bees slow down, but they've had generations of producing mites. So this is an important time in July to get a handle, test, treat, and test. It's the most challenging time to treat because it's so hot that a lot of your typical common products aren't going to be able to be used, like Forming Pro is too hot and so on. So you're going to have to really work through that out on your own. And I always say, please be a citizen scientist, do your own research on what each treatment product is best to be used with supers on, with supers off, in hot climates, not hot climates. Do your own research and know that label, that product really well. That's really needs to be entirely up to you and your preference. Okay, our fourth tip is this is a good time to replace your old queens. Now, if you've had a queen and she's 3 or 4 years old, oh my gosh, I would not go through the winter with her again. The only way you know that is if you've had a mark on her, that one of the color codes on her, then you'll know how old she is. But I think it's really important to realize that this is a good time to replace your queens because you still have time. If she doesn't get accepted, you have time to buy another one or raise another one and get another one in the hive. And tip number 5, several weeks of hot weather are certainly in our future because, you know, dog days of August. Oh my gosh, it can be so hot in July and August, sometimes even into September a little bit. But be thinking about providing water for your bees in July if it's hot, and shade. I've talked about shade makes a huge difference. Don't move your hives into shade, but maybe put something on the lid to provide more shade for them. And tip number 6, listen, this is really interesting because I have a lot of beekeepers that will ask me in July, August, September, they'll start asking me questions like, why are my bees so defensive? What's going on? They weren't always this way. Well, it's because the bees are more defensive. They have more honey that they've collected that they need to protect, and they're more populated. They're at their maximum population. So when the colony gets as big as it's going to get, and they have all the honey on there that they've been collecting, they're going to be more defensive. They're bigger than your little nuke or your package that you started with. So that means that you have got to become more cognitive of wearing more protection. Wear gloves, wear a bee suit, maybe instead of just a veil, or at least a bee jacket so they don't crawl up your sleeves. I would not advise you wearing shorts in the hot summer months when you're working your bees, because they're gonna be different. They're gonna be a little more defensive. Always have your smoker going, and this is the time, if you've been working barehanded, might be a time to put the gloves on, because bees are going to be a little bit more defensive and protective. Number 7, now this is what I mentioned early on. If you still have a hive that's kind of weak, equalizing the hives are a great thing. Remember, I always say 2 is 1 and 1 is none. That means it's better to have 2 hives than 1, but I realize a lot of you just have 1 hive. And so if you just have 1 hive, you're not going to be able to combine it or move frames around. You're just going to have to watch the queen, feed it, whatever it takes to get it going good, to build up better than it is if it's not doing good so far. I just made a video about that last week. Tip number 8. Oh, let me go back to this one. But if you do have more than 1 hive, you got several hives, this is the time to really start thinking about, should I combine this little hive that doesn't really seem like they're going to make it? I'll combine it with another hive. I'll put newspaper down on the top box of the strong colony. I'll kill the queen in the weak hive, and I'll move that deep onto that newspaper that's got a couple of slits in it, cut a couple of slits, put a top on it, and let them kind of get used to each other by the time they eat through that newspaper in a day or 2. That's what we mean by combining hives. Or moving frames really helps too. Last video that I made, I showed you guys how to move frames over from a resource hive. So those are some ways that you can equalize your hives in the month of July, because you've got to realize we're only 13 weeks away from fall as of today. So that only leaves us 13 weeks to get that hive built up. We're going to need every one of those weeks. So yeah, be thinking about that. Another July tip, a crucial July tip, is prevent and control robbing. Now, a lot of people don't think robbing is a problem until they see it happening, and then they go, oh my gosh, I had no idea. And it's quite scary. But all bees from everywhere might try to rob out, especially a smaller colony that's struggling or has a lot of honey. You never want to feed bees in the entrance during late summer, in July, so on, because that attracts robbing. And so you want to feed from the top where the bees cannot detect that you're feeding them. They won't smell that. And then, of course, be careful how you feed, not from the entrance. And another way that you can prevent robbing, this is a little challenging, but you can actually take protein powder for bees or sugar water and put it as in a bird bath or somewhere really far away from your beehives. I mean, really far away. If you put it too close, it's going to entice them to rob your hive. But a lot of people say by putting protein powder out, dry powder, letting bees go way out there to it, that it can greatly reduce robbing. I had a commercial beekeeper when I spoke at the Illinois State Conference a couple of weeks ago. A commercial beekeeper told me that by putting protein powder out on boards or something really far from the hives, the bees go out there, they just don't rob the other hives. And so that can work as well. Oh, by the way, while we're talking about robbing, the best thing to use in being proactive about it is a robber screen. So you can purchase robber screens everywhere. They go in the front of the hive. Your bees go in and out 6 inches away from the opening. And the robbers try to get in through the screen where they smell the hive, but they can't get through there. So you can purchase robber screens to help with that as well. Don't wait until they're robbing to put those on. You may want to put those on as soon as you have a dearth and you see a great reduction in foraging. And my final tip is late summer and fall feeding. Like when there's a nectar dearth, it ends. There's not many bees flying anymore, just a little bit. That means there's a dearth. There's no nectar available. Now, you still may get some later on in the fall when the asters kick up, like goldenrod. But right now, robbing could happen anytime that you have a dearth. So that's going to help a lot if you start feeding each colony. This is something I have taught extensively about. If you can feed your bees during the dearth, then you can start raising bees of winter physiology. We're a little bit early on doing that in most places, but the more we raise bees of winter physiology, the greater chance we have of overwintering those bees that live 4 to 8 months. And that's going to put us in the mindset of building up our bees for winter by feeding them. I don't feed my bees 2 to 1. That is the old traditional paradigm to help the bees process the 2 to 1, 2 parts sugar, 1 part water, process it in honey source faster. But I prefer 1 to 1 to stimulate brood rearing. And so that's important to me. I feed 1 to 1 and I use our feeding additives, they include Honeybee Healthy, Amino Bee Booster, and they also have the pollen protein substitute in there as well. Okay. There you go. So these are the tips that I'm thinking of that would be helpful for you guys in the month of July to keep you on task for the things that you need to be doing in the month of July. And if you have any questions about any of the things that I presented over the last few minutes, just feel free to ask me those in the comment section, and I'll get to those questions as fast as I can. Okay, let's go ahead and hit our question and answer time. If you have some questions, we'll get right into it. Hello, Glenn. If I feed 1 to 1 sugar water during the dearth, will they continue to fill out the honey supers? I'm trying to get as many frames drawn out for next spring. Oh, yeah, they will. I've actually seen that myself. I've used that technique. If they have that ability to take that sugar water and metabolize it into wax, the colony is healthy. They have a lot of 12 to 17-day-old bees in there that make wax. Absolutely, they'll do it. That's a wise decision to try to make some wax combs. Yeah. Well, thank you for being a YouTube member. For joining my YouTube channel. Appreciate that. My channel has a membership of a Nectar Novice or a Beak Squad Ambassador. So you can join that and support the channel. I'll be having a live stream soon with just our members in the next week or so. So be sure and be watching for that. Hey, Rich. Hi, David. Sounds like you are liking the acorn frames. Do you add extra wax to them also? No, I don't, Rich. I found out the ones that I have were double coated, and they actually, you can order them 1 coat, 2 coats, or 3 coats, and double coated worked really good for me. So I did not add any more. Thank you for your donation, by the way. I see some donations coming in for the live stream, so thank you so much. So no need to add extra wax to those acorns. Nope. Hey, Gene, are red ants a danger to hives? Well, that's only a color that describes a lot of different types of ants. So I think one of the most dangerous ants that comes to mind to a beehive, of course, are the fire ants. And to me, they're red, if that's what you mean. But we've talked a lot about ants. You know, there's big black carpenter ants. There's red sugar ants. Around Illinois, we don't have fire ants, but we do have red ants. And they're just little sugar ants. They're going for anything sweet. Bees keep them at bay in Illinois on my property. I don't know where you live and what it's like for you, but ants have never been a problem. I see them on the hive. I see them trying to get little things around the corners and all, but not a big deal. I don't worry about it. If you do have a big deal with ants, there's a lot of techniques we use. Primarily, put your hive on a stand with feet on it. Put those feet in a moat or some kind of pan of water or vegetable oil to keep the ants from getting up on that hive. Thanks, Katie. Glad that you enjoyed the sale that we had on our online classes over the 4th of July weekend. So many of you took advantage of that. Melissa from Maine. Hot and humid days with bees gathered on landing boards hovering around in front of the hive. Bad days to do an inspection. Yeah, it kind of is. I mean, sometimes you have to, you know, sometimes I go out there and take honey supers off on those terrible hot days just because it's full and needs to be off. If you can wait till a better day, I've just noticed that my bees are a little bit more cranky on those hot and humid days like that. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, maybe you can find a cooler day. Hello, Marianne. Good to see you tonight. Can a 2-box nuke survive winter in zone 7? That's a very good question. They have the potential to survive. Yes. I think if all scenarios are just right, they have enough food, they have enough population, they're in a very good health environment, meaning they don't have a lot of mites or viruses. Yeah, they're going to survive. Obviously, they will. But again, you got to have population, food, low mite counts. Hi, Leah. Vera, Seth, and I say hi, Nana and Papa. I love you. Everybody enjoys my son, Seth, his wife, Leah, and their daughter, Vera. Vera, my little granddaughter, always loves to watch Papa on the television every Thursday night. She was watching last night and got disappointed. She was a day early. Oh, hey, Charles, do bees store nectar from different sources in the same cell, or do they like to keep them separated? I really can't speak on behalf of honeybees themselves, but in my observation, they will do their darndest to put a single nectar source in one area because that's just what they're doing. You know, they're bringing that in and they have a place to put all incoming nectar. So if they happen to be running on one source at that moment, they're going to put that on that particular frame they're filling up. However, I've seen it mixed too. So it's a coin toss on that one. Yep. And the longer they stay on one source, the more they'll fill up one frame or many frames with that single source. Hey, John. Hi. Oh, thank you for a donation, John. Hey, David and Sherry, what is your experience with mini mating nooks for queen rearing? Got one right behind me over there. See those up there? Those are the little mini ones there. And they're up there because I used them. I tried using them a few times and, I didn't like them. And so there they sit up on my shelf. The reason is because they fill up and they multiply too quickly in there. I can't keep up with it. It also makes an odd size frame that doesn't fit any of my other equipment. So all my mating nooks are going to be in deep Langstroth frames that I can use in deep Langstroth boxes, nuke boxes, so on. So that's my reasoning for that. Hi, Stephen. I live in Minnesota. I should say Minnesota. I'm wondering if I should wait until next season to start harvesting honey. It gets pretty cold here. Oh, I see. So you might want to keep that super on there. Well, I'll tell you what, Stephen. Let's do it this way. If you just want a little bit of honey so badly, you might harvest 2 frames. And maybe they have time to still fill those 2 frames up. You can move them to the outside wall or something. Just make sure that the 8 frames left are in the middle, and when they go up to cluster, they'll be on that frame of honey. It's not a bad idea to play it safe and to leave as much honey that you as maybe, we say 70 pounds. I think 70 is in your area too. And a super of honey is going to weigh 30 to 50 pounds. Plus what's honey is in the brood nest area. So it doesn't hurt to have that extra super on there. Indeed. Yeah, I just mentioned that, Charles. How many pounds of honey do you leave the bees for winter? Well, since I feed my bees my winter bee kind, I'll feed them 3 or 4 winter bee kinds a winter, which is about 20 pounds. I'll usually leave 1 medium super on there, which is about anywhere from 30 to 50 pounds. I don't know how much honey that would be. A lot of that is wood, wax, and comb. But 1 super and putting those honeybee or those winter bee kinds on there makes a big difference. Hey, David, Ag 15. I bought a queenless hive. I didn't know at the time, but the bees, they made a queen cell. I've been feeding like crazy. You think they're going to make it through the winter? Thank you. I'll be right back. Got to get my crystal ball. Okay, crystal ball says, oh gosh, what was that little thing we used to have that had that floating thing in the middle? It was an 8-ball. Am I saying it right? 8-ball. And it had this little thing. You would shake it and you would ask it a question and it would give this answer to. My mom and dad thought it was about the devil. My mom and dad were strong Christian people and they thought that was from the devil. But anyway, I don't have a crystal ball. I can't say for sure. You got to rely on Mother Nature. If they're queenless, they're going to make a queen and get to work on making things happen. But it's up to the beekeeper to really keep monitoring. Are they drawing the comb out? Are they bringing enough stores in for winter based on where you live? Are they going to pull that off? So it depends on the beekeeper's skill set more than the bees, I think. Yeah. Hey, Tim. First time on a chat. First time ever on a chat. Yay, Tim. Welcome. Everybody give a applause for Tim for being here tonight. Question is, if there's no queen and no brood after bear attack, oh, sorry to hear that, but 3,000 to 5,000 bees, should I buy a mated queen and try to feed the colony and build it back up? Absolutely. Buy a mated queen. Buy a mated queen. Yes. I want to spend a minute on this question. Thank you, Jonathan, for your donation. Sorry about your bear attack. Are you using electric fences, solar powered electric fences? You really need to be doing that for sure. There's ways that definitely keep bees or bears out of your bees with putting the fence in the right layered positions and height and all. So, but here's the deal with that. If you want bees to raise their own queen, somebody asked me a question, and I almost I don't think I have it available now, but on my YouTube channel today, somebody said, on the last hive that you found weak, couldn't you have just moved a frame of eggs on it? I think it was a horizontal Langstroth that I found that was queenless. They said, couldn't you just move eggs over? But here's why I didn't choose to do that, is because if I move eggs over, it'll be 30 days before that queen develops and lays an egg. That's 30,000 bees she could have been laying. 30,000 bees I could have had in 30 days. But if I wait a week, 5 more days, 7 days approximately, that takes me to 23 days. I can put a mated queen in there. So, well, in 7 days, that leaves me 23 days for her to lay. So in 30 days, I'll have 23,000 eggs laid or honeybees. You see the difference? In 30 days, I've got 0 brood. In 30 days, I have 23,000 eggs, larvae, pupae, maybe even adults. So That's amazing. Always buy a mated queen if your hive is really, really weak. Don't wait that 30 days. Oh, I love sharing that information. Hey, Mike, David, I just finished a mite treatment and got levels in check. Should I test in September and treat again if necessary? You just did a mite treatment, got levels in check. So I'm assuming that you did a mite test. Should I test in September and treat again if necessary? I recommend beekeepers always do a mite test about every 30 days. So no, I don't suggest you wait until September. You need to know what they're going to be doing in 30 days and then respond to that with treatment 30 days after your last test. 30 days gives us a good chance of a lot of certainly one generation of honeybees, 21 days, to emerge and those mites emerge with them. So every 30 days. No, don't wait till September. It might be skyrocketed by then. Honey, how are you doing? When combining two hives with newspapers between, do you provide an exit for the hive boxes on top above the newspaper? No, I don't actually. That's the whole point of the newspaper. You want the bees on top to kind of be forced to coexist, collaborate with the bees on bottom by wanting to go out and through the newspaper and join the force. No need to leave anything open on top. No. Hello, Jen. If you put robber screens on when it's hot, will that make the hive warmer? Bees are quite capable of keeping their hive within 92 to 96 degrees Fahrenheit and around the brood nest area and such. They're gonna pull the hot air out. They're gonna be able to do it. Will it make it warmer? We probably would say it seems like it, doesn't it? Because if you have your bottom board open, then you see more bees out there fanning their wings and exhausting the heat out of there. But the payoff is worth it. All right. It's better for the colony to be a little bit warmer and not get robbed out, because it can actually kill a colony, than it would be to keep them cooler like that. CS, thank you for your super sticker tonight. Appreciate that a lot. All right. Great questions tonight. Hey, Glenn. Is it safe to remove entrance reducer in the summer to help cool the hive? Yes, as long as robbing doesn't start up. If you're not in a robbing time, bees won't rob each other. If there's nectar flow going on, they'll go to the nice nectar source out there. So it's safe to open it up. You don't have to remove it all the way, but you can open it halfway, larger settings, whatever it takes. But you can open it up a little bit more. Yeah. A lot of my hives have straight open bottom entrances. The mag. I have a question. Okay. I'm new as of June 20th. Wow, you are new. Congratulations. When I caught my first swarm in a trap, what do you do when they draw comb out that's so thick that it affects the other frames? It's full of nectar. Yeah, we've all seen that before, and it happens. And what you have to do is navigate around that. If it is a frame of just nectar / honey, you could actually remove it, brush the bees off, and cut it, trim it, and save all the trimming safely in your house so bees don't rob it and eat it. If it's honey, whatever, nectar, feed it back to the bees in a jar. I don't know, but you could trim it. Now, if it's brood, it's going to be messy. That you don't want to do that. The larva juices go everywhere, but you could do that if it's simply honey. Hey, Brian Hill, thanks for your super sticker donation tonight. Appreciate you guys donating to the live stream as well. A lot of you here tonight. Appreciate it. Have somewhat weak hives sitting here in the sun with temp sensors showing sometimes temps up to 108. Wow, in the sun. Okay, that makes sense. Guessing population is too small to control temperature. At what temp do I need to intervene? Oh, yeah. You know what? Here's something that works for me. If the temperature starts to rise above maybe 95, 96 in the shade, as most temperatures are measured in the shade on thermometers, but it starts getting upward in the 90s, I start wanting to put shade on my hives or provide water sources. So you're past that. Let's shade that hive. let's make sure they have water sources. Yeah, it's pretty hot where you live. Wow, that's crazy. I know Jessica tonight said it's so hot where she lives in Virginia. Wow. Oh, hey, Dwayne, why are my bees carrying out the larvae from my hive? Numerous ones doing this. Good question. I'm not sure where you live, Dwayne. If you live in a place where they've already started expelling their drones, they will pull out the drone larvae or pupae and not let them develop. So a lot of you will see this as we get closer to late summer or fall. When bees don't want the drones to eat all their winter stores, they'll start pulling out those drones. Another reason is they could be hygienic. They could be cutting open the infected, mite-infected pupae or even the larvae and pulling it out. It could be that when you inspected your hive, there was a comb between the top box and the bottom box, and you broke it, and that opened up 10 or 20 or 50, usually drone larvae. And when that opens up, it more or less kills them, and they have to clean up after an inspection. Those are the most common reasons that I can think of. Indeed. Hey, Jay Glosser, always good to see you in the YouTube comments. I pulled mini cap super frames full of honey, 16.5. Congratulations. That is a very acceptable dry number. Rechecked it after extraction, 18%. Will this honey start fermenting? The reason it jumped to 18% is because honey is hygroscopic, not hydro, but hygroscopic, meaning it attracts moisture. And so whenever you're working in a moist environment, doing your honey extraction and your tubs and your slicing and such, moisture is going to be drawn to that honey. 18% still sounds acceptable to me. I don't think you're going to really see fermentation starting at 18%. Not at all. Yeah. I like that we talked about that. Hey, Jed, how do you feel about pulling honey from brood boxes until goldenrod starts to help expand brood chambers? I think if you are you doing that because you're brood bound maybe with honey? I think if you feel like or honey bound, if you're honey bound in your brood area, then it's a good idea to extract the honey, make room for the queen to lay. But in Illinois, I've not really had great luck with goldenrod making me a lot of nectar. So I don't like tinkering with the honey that's in my brood area unless it's honey bound. Hey, Jeff, thank you for your super sticker tonight. Appreciate all the donations. You guys are so nice. So nice to be part of a very supportive beekeeping community here on our Beak Squad. I appreciate and love all of you so much. Hi, David. Would you recommend just leaving the ultimate robbing screen on through the winter rather than switching them out for mouse guards in the winter? Oh, that's a good question. No, I don't want to have robber screens on in the winter because on nicer days, the bees are going to want to drag out their dead sisters. And it's so much easier doing that than trying to pull them out through a robbing screen. So for that reason alone, yeah, let's take the robber screen off and let's go mouse guards in the wintertime. Hey, Ross, how are you tonight? I have 2 frames packed with uncapped honey and pollen in my freezer to relieve a honey-bound hive. Okay. Should I take them outside and let them clean it? You can do that, but please don't put them anywhere near a hive. You got to have them really, 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 really far away. And how far? The farthest you can get them. 100 yards, 50 yards. You just don't want those bees to get sniffing around your hives by going to those frames that you put out there. So yeah, you can do that and bees will go after that. Absolutely. Hey, David, I have a beekeeper friend who gave me a mite treatment. Oh, really? Gave you a mite treatment? That was just a toilet paper roll dipped in a bucket of solution. I'm not laughing at you. I'm just laughing because, whoa, you just slap a piece of it on your brood. Have you heard of it? Let me back up here. Toilet paper roll dipped in a bucket of solution. Slap a piece of it on your brood. No. I mean, I've heard of a lot of things similar to this. We have the extended release pads that are They're not really dipped in solutions, maybe, but no, I would be skeptical of that. And if somebody knows if that is a legal treatment, let me know and I'll correct myself. But of all the treatments that I know, I've never heard of that one. So I'd be a little bit leery of that myself. We'll take a few more questions and then we're going to do spin to win. Hi, David. Caught my first swarm on June the 6th or June the 19th, fed 1-to-1, inspected today, and there wasn't much bee bread or pollen, and the brood seemed dry. Did I err in aggressively feeding sugar without protein? Oh, that's a good point that you're thinking that way. Nurse bees need both carbohydrates and protein to feed young developing larvae. Sounds like a population issue more than feeding issue. I really don't know if you have enough nurse bees in there at the time that's providing resources to those developing larvae is what it sounds like to me, but can't be sure. But no, I don't think just feeding them sugar water hurts you that much. I think feeding them anything would be good. Yeah. All right, let's take a couple more and then we'll spin the wheel and then we'll take a couple more after that. Any advice to get a hive to raise a new queen? My package was hit hard by small hive beetle infestation, lost the queen, introduced a new queen, and the hive killed her. I moved 2 frames with eggs and brood. That's a question, Johnny, that many people ask and many people struggle with. Getting a hive queen right again can be a challenge. They do make isolation frames, I guess, that you can use that isolates the queen cage a little bit longer before you release her. And sometimes you can leave the cap or the plug on the queen cage a little bit longer before you release her. Sometimes things like that helps. Sorry to hear about your small hive beetle infestation and loss of queen. The best techniques that I've found in those situations is just keep dumping queens in there and finally they'll take one. Now they could be raising a virgin and you're caught in that cycle of every time you look, the virgin queen might be out flying or not really identifiable. So good luck. I hope that works out. All right. Let's take a moment and have our fun time of spin to win. All right, here we go. If you're new to the live stream, we have this little spin to win wheel and it has several things on it. Sorry about the lighting, hard to see it all. And we'll spin it and there's an opportunity for all of you. If it lands on one of these Beak Squad stickers, then we'll do a giveaway for a Beak Squad tumbler that's been autographed by yours truly. So we're giving that away tonight if it lands on a giveaway. But we have a whole bunch of stuff. So let's give it a spin and see where it lands tonight. Are you excited? All right. Where's it going to land tonight? I can see it in the screen too. Oh, embarrassing moment. Oh, I have to give an embarrassing story. Oh my gosh, it's so cringy and wrong and unbelievable and awkward. All of those things. All right, here we go. This is still going to be family friendly, but a little bit on the not so family friendly side, but it would qualify for family friendly. So I'm in a big bee yard in Florida and we're working bees and there's bees everywhere. I mean, you can't breathe without a bee being, I mean, it's maybe 1,000 hives in this bee yard and we're making packages and it's hot. It's way hot. And it's maybe March. I think it's April, maybe. Very hot. So we're pounding the Gatorade. I'm drinking a lot of fluid and I need to go relieve myself. But you're in a bee yard. They don't have porta potties or a restroom, but there's a tree line not too far away, kind of on the edge of the hives. So I walk over in my bee suit to the edge of the tree line to relieve myself there. And as I do, there wasn't a lot of bees over there. They were mostly, where the hives were. But as I began, trying to word this carefully, a honeybee landed on my manhood. And it was like, oh my gosh, what do you do, right? I mean, and it landed there in the midst of the flow. And so, there's not a lot you can do in that moment. You're just frozen in time thinking, if she stings me, what are the repercussions going to be, right? That's one place that I've never been stung. And that was the most embarrassing moment that I'm embarrassed telling you about it. Fortunately, she just lifted off and flew away. But oh boy, that was a very awkward and embarrassing moment, right? Oh well, that's good. Do you want to spin again, Sherry? Sherry's our person that, well, she gives us the okay to spin again. I got warm after that embarrassing story. Whew. Hope it doesn't fall on that again. I'm not telling another one tonight. One's all you get. Oh, really? I got to tell a crazy bee story? This isn't all. I know it. Oh, we're going to. Oh, all right. Here we go. Crazy bee story. So in this area here used to be a store where we sold bee supplies and honey and all that. And we had an observation hive that I made, and I had a hole in the wall. And so all the bees would, fly in and out of that wall over there. And it was a pretty big 4-frame observation hive. And what's crazy, this isn't really funny or embarrassing, but it's just crazy, is that it was made out of plexiglass, and people would always just smash their face up against it. Little kids would push on the plexiglass, they would just mishandle it. I was fearful. They did that enough, and I made it. I don't think I made it the way I should have, but they worked it over a year or two where they kind of made a gappy in one area. And so one day unknown to us, a gap occurred and the bees started coming out in the bee store in this area here. And that is when I learned this crazy story idea, because all the bees started landing up on the ceiling at night. They would sleep on the ceiling. They would just upside down on my ceiling. They would just, be on the ceiling. And that's when Sherry said, look, bees actually poop upside down on the ceiling. And that was just crazy. I thought, no, but they do. Bees can poop upside down on your ceiling. They can poop on your ceiling being upside down on it. Let's go ahead and have a giveaway, okay? Let's give a tumbler away. Woo! Somebody, if you live far away in another country, it might be impossible for us to actually send this to you, ship it to you. And if that's the case, we reserve the right to substitute something like an online beekeeping course, something like that, to make it more equitable for all of us. But anyway, if you live in in 50 states, we can probably ship this to you. So #Tumbler is the word to write in the comment section. No capital T. Do it like it's on the screen. #Tumbler. Now, have I talked about these before? Yes, because I love these. They are made out of some unbelievable material that when you put hot or cold in there, it stays that way forever. And why they don't make beehives out of this, I have no idea. It'd be great. But it is really a great tumbler. And so #Tumbler, put your name down in the comment section if you'd like to get a Beak Squad. Beak Squad is, by the way, I've been on YouTube since 2008, 2 years after they started. And lo and behold, they just wanted all of us content creators to have a name, a handle, they call it. So they said, hurry and choose one. So I chose Beak, because that means you're a beekeeper, you're a beak. And you're the squad because you like to follow me on YouTube. Hey, by the way, I want to tell you something else about my YouTube channel. And that is, last week I got verified. Now, hold on. I got verified early on in my beekeeping career, and that's basically YouTube proving that you do exist, right? But this is a different verification. Once you hit 100,000 subscribers, and once you show YouTube that you're making a great deal of content and some other checks, they authenticate who you are, you're credible, blah, blah, blah. Then they put a little check mark by your name. So this is going to be good for all of you. Now, if you see a comment, I have people that sometimes we have trolls, and they'll come into the comment section as me. They will copy my picture. They'll use my name Beak or whatever, but they won't have a check mark by it. Only I have a check mark when I comment or leave a comment on YouTube. And if you get to my channel and you see David Burns and it has a check mark, that's my channel. If somebody else tries to be me, they won't have a check mark. Anyway, all right, let's go ahead, Robbie, and see who might win a tumbler tonight. Be good. Good luck, everybody. Let's see who might win. All right, here we go. Good luck, everyone. All right, it's going around. Henry Gass. Henry. All right, Henry, congratulations. Email us within 24 hours, Henry. longlanehoneybees@gmail.com. Email us with your address to ship it to. I'll get that right out to you. That'd be great. Wonderful. Wow. All right. Wow. This was a fast live stream. Every live stream goes by so quickly. I just want to remind you guys again tonight that if you do want to be in our live audience on July 27th, that's a Saturday at 1 p.m. here in Central Illinois, come on over. Go to honeybeesonline.com. You can buy a ticket there. We don't have 20 tickets available, but I think we've got a handful left. And would love to have you here. Love for you to be on the property and be a part of the live stream in the afternoon here. And we'll have a meet and greet time afterwards with refreshments and giveaways for the live audience as well. So put that on your calendar. You got time to maybe work that in. I'm looking forward to going to my sister's house. My sister is a little bit older than I am, to answer that question. I had her on one of my YouTube videos recently. My sister is actually 7 years older than I am. But anyway, I've been helping her get her YouTube channel started. It's not on beekeeping, but it's on homesteading and cooking. You know, that's an area in YouTube that people love to watch. So I'm going down there this weekend. If any of you live in the Martin area, you should let me know. Leave a comment on one of my videos or something. I'd like to say hi to you down there. But Sherry and I will be down there helping my sister Phyllis again with her channel. And if you want to support her and get her going on her channel a little bit, I think her channel is called Hazelwood Homestead. And so you can just type that in. But anyway, that's what I'm going to be doing this weekend. Looking forward to that. But I want to say that with YouTube, I find it fascinating that I can make beekeeping videos and actually use that opportunity to help you guys, not in beekeeping, not just in beekeeping, but help you guys in life. You know, I really do want to be viewed, and I hope I'm coming across sincere. I do want to be your friend. I do want to be somebody that's upbeat, positive, and encouraging to you. I do want to be a source of a continual person in your life that brings good news, that brings a cheer, puts a little step, a little lift in your step, or whatever that phrase is. I count it a great privilege that you're watching me on YouTube. I can't tell you how much it means. We're almost at 149,000 subscribers. And I think you can tell my heart is sincere. I work hard for you guys making so many videos, and, you know, making videos as a content creator, as a beekeeper, I think is doubly hard because, you know, I'm out in the field with my videographer, Pat, and he's helped me a ton, but we're trying to focus. We're trying to get the lighting right. You know, it's not like you can do every video in here where everything is static. You're outdoors and you're in a bee suit and you're being, anyway, it's not easy. And so I keep working hard to help you guys become better beekeepers, but I'm really kind of working harder for you to really know that life is good. And even when we go through hard times, Sherry and I have gone through our share of plenty of hard times, but you just got to cowboy up and find a way to rise above all the challenges in life and find a way to feel like you're still important and valuable in the world. Each of us need to make a difference. And I get a little choked up talking about this, but I really want to help people. I mean, I want to help you, not just in bees. I want to help you in life. I want you to live the fullest life that you can live. That means a lot to me. It really does. So every time I go in front of the camera, I feel like, yeah, I'm going to show some things about beekeeping, but that's not it. That's not all it is. I want you to know David Burns is an individual that has high regards for you, and I have great respect for you. I don't even know who you are. Or definitely don't really maybe know you if you're new, but I have great respect and admiration for you being a fellow brother or sister in humanity. And I want to help you. I mean, I'm here. I've got your back. I love you. I appreciate you. I I really do want to see you succeed, not just in beekeeping, but in life. All right. Well, we're going to say goodnight because the clock has just rolled around to 8 o'clock, and we have had 59 minutes of outstanding fun tonight. Gosh, I want to thank all of you for being here so much tonight. It means so much to me that we had so many people here. Thanks a lot for watching this. And be sure and check out all my videos. Check out my website, honeybeesonline.com. Also, always check back in every Thursday, 7 p.m. for the live stream. I'll say good night and see you guys soon. Good night.